A 17-year-old girl is facing criminal charges alleging that she aborted a fetus in violation of Nebraska state law. And Facebook has something to do with it because they did turn over her Facebook communications to the authorities investigating her. Now, even though she was underage, she is being charged as an adult along with her mother, Jessica Burgess. And to make matters worse, again, authorities filed the charges after obtaining Facebook messages using a search warrant. So here's what we know about the story so far. 17-year-old Celeste Burgess, who is being tried as an adult along with her mother, Jessica, is awaiting trial in Madison County District Court on charges that they broke a Nebraska law banning abortions after 20 weeks. Now, Nebraska currently outlaws abortions beyond 20 weeks. On Monday of this week, Republican lawmakers in the state luckily failed to secure a more restrictive abortion law that would have banned abortions past 12 weeks. So they failed in getting that passed, which is good news. But they still have an abortion ban past 20 weeks in place. Celeste and her mother were charged in July with allegedly removing, concealing, or abandoning a dead human body and concealing the death of another person after the Norfolk Police Department received a tip claiming Celeste had miscarried in April at 23 weeks of pregnancy and secretly buried the fetus with her mother's help. So that's what the tip was. And I'm unsure as to why the authorities are now accusing her of getting an illegal abortion. Well, I do know why. They're saying that they read about it in her messages, her Facebook messages. Now, keep in mind that it's the authorities saying this and we should take what they say with a grain of salt. But while Celeste told police that she had suffered a miscarriage, they continue to investigate, serving Facebook with a search warrant to access Celeste and Jessica's Facebook accounts. They subsequently found messages between the mother and daughter allegedly detailing how Celeste had undergone a self-managed abortion with Jessica's help. That Celeste had undergone that abortion. Look, we need to wait and see what the details of this investigation, what kind of evidence is actually shown in this case. I don't know what's going on. I'm overall against aborting a healthy pregnancy at 23 weeks, assuming that the mother's healthy, the fetus is healthy, yada, yada, you get the point. But we don't know what the situation was. We don't know if she did miscarry or if she didn't miscarry. So let's just hold judgment on that. But it is scary to know that, these right-wing zealots are absolutely looking to investigate women who have abortions. They keep pretending no, but we're not looking to punish the women, just the doctors or those who aid the women and girls in getting an abortion. No, they're gonna investigate and criminalize women, 100%.
No. There is one reason and one reason only where they're even bothering to blow smoke up our dress about the not punishing them. It's because they know that would be wildly unpopular. And I get why they would be nervous about that. Their position already on abortion is wildly unpopular. And so they don't want to add unpopular to unpopular. But they totally want to do it. The core of this entire thing is their animus towards women or people who can get pregnant. They hate them, they fear them, they lust after them, they want to control them. That's all it is. The idea that, no, it's really just about our love for life and birth and new babies. That's all we want. We don't want to control a woman's body or choice. No, they desperately want to do it already. There are state level Republicans screaming it from the rooftops, trying to get it into law in their states. And the anti-abortion movement, you think they're going to be pacified by their success in getting Roe v. Wade destroyed? No, they want a federal law, a full ban. Maybe they'll say six weeks for now, and they'll get it down to 0 as much as they can, and then they'll jack up the penalties as much as possible. In the meanwhile, you have cases like this where, look, as you know, there's a lot that we don't know about this. I would argue that everybody has a different threshold for when they start to get uncomfortable about it or whatever. But that to me is an emotional thing, not a thing of people's rights. And I would argue that if you have, again, I don't know the girl, don't know the mom. If this is the lengths they'll go to end the pregnancy, maybe it's a pregnancy that should be ended. Maybe that isn't the environment for a child to be born into.
Yeah, again, I don't know the details and I don't know what she was going through. I don't know what the situation was. We don't even know at this point whether it was a stillbirth or not, right?
Sure.
I will say that late-term abortions are very rare. The vast majority of abortions, over 90% of abortions, are done in the first trimester.
It's so rare that it's a waste of time to even talk about it. It's just right-wing propaganda.
100%. But we should also discuss the privacy component of this and how our own actions and communications on social media can be used against us by right-wingers looking to criminalize and prosecute people for making decisions about their own lives and their own bodies. So Facebook released a statement after this story was published, because they want to protect themselves and they don't want users to feel uncomfortable using the platform, knowing that their communications could be used against them through prosecutors coming after them for whatever reason. And so Andy Stone, who's a spokesperson for Meta, said this: "Nothing in the valid warrants we received from local law enforcement in early June prior to the Supreme Court decision mentioned abortion. The warrants concerned charges related to a criminal investigation, and court documents indicate that police at the time were investigating the case of a stillborn baby who was burned and buried, not a decision to have an abortion." So, and look, if a judge signs off on a warrant and the authorities show up with a warrant and they say, "We've got this warrant, we need to see the communications," I'm not really sure how much Facebook can, or any platform can, resist that. The best thing you can do to protect yourself is don't communicate about anything that's sensitive on social media. It can and will be used against you, clearly.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Although, on top of everything else, I mean, putting that on people, like, that might be necessary or pragmatic. It also sucks at the same time. When the judge shows up, it's possible that they couldn't fight against that. I would also argue it's one of the largest corporations in the history of the world with a great deal of political influence. If it did decide to fight it, and if it decided to make a national story out of how it was protecting your private data,
they could do that.
That might be to their benefit in the long run, but they chose not to do that. They could also preemptively make it impossible. Look, I'm not a tech guru or whatever, but they could make it so that it's all encrypted and they have no personal access to that data to then hand over. If they wanted to, there are apps like that. Facebook doesn't have the resources.
The profits, John. I mean, if they didn't have access to that personal data, then the top way that Meta makes its money, which is selling your data to third parties, wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be possible.
And even that statement they put out, like, go F yourself, you sociopathic cyborg, Mark Zuckerberg. We just thought they were curious about a stillbirth after. We didn't think that amidst all of this talk about Roe, that any of this could possibly be about looking into the process of it. Go F yourself. And then all the other information you have about what they've done. This very much fits a pattern, and it's a dark one.
I think the pattern's important to mention, right? Because this isn't a one-off. There are other issues with Facebook related to the reproductive rights debate in the country. So for instance, Facebook users recently noticed that Instagram and Facebook posts about acquiring abortion pills were being systematically removed. At the same time, Meta continued to earn revenue from anti-abortion advertisements containing dangerous misinformation. And that's according to reporting from Media Matters. But it gets worse, believe it or not. An investigation by The Markup discovered that Facebook was collecting data from users interacting with abortion services websites and subsequently made that information available to anti-abortion groups. I'm pretty sure those anti-abortion groups didn't have search warrants for that data that was willy-nilly shared with them by Facebook.
Yeah.
So that part's pretty important to understand and know about.
No, they're not on our side. Like, I don't know how many more pieces of evidence we need. Facebook is not on our side.
None of these
they will
platforms
comply
are.
with whoever it is that benefits their profits. That's all it is.
People over profits.
Yeah, even if look, even if the board or the CEO,
profits over people, my bad.
Exactly. Even if the CEO was a person who had even one shred of genetic capacity for empathy, I still wouldn't trust them. It's a massive social media corporation. But on top of it, Mark Zuckerberg, yeah, he's got the interests of pregnant people at heart. He'll fight against the state and Big Brother to protect them. even if it costs him a ton of money.
Yeah, right.
Ridiculous.